Real mower, Greensmower, what's the difference? Is there a difference? Let's break it down in this video. So let's first talk about a lot of the brands you'll often see. On the homeowner side of things, you'll often see a California trimmer like this one here, as well as True Cut or a McLean. On the professional or Greensmower side of things, you'll often see Toro, John Deere, which are my two favorites, but there's also tons more like Jacobsen, and we could go on, but those are probably the most common ones that you'll come across. So to kick us off here, let's first talk about the difference on the height of cut adjustment. So the height of cut adjustment on a residential reel is always going to be way easier than on a professional unit. These units right here can often go from, pretty low to, even 2 inches or so, just by moving a simple lever. A lot of them are marked too, so you know exactly what height you're at. Like this right here may be 1.5 inches, but you can kind of quickly know where you're at, and it's very easy to change between the two. It's kind of hard with one hand, but you get the idea. These can go, like I said, really high. A lot of them can go to 2 inches or more. Whereas the Greensmowers typically, on a lot of these, they're going to be way lower. You can get some of them to 1 inch, but adjusting the height of cut on these is a lot different. Usually you're going to have to break out some tools and set your height of cut. Now, another thing is to know your height of cut on a Greensmower. You're also going to want either a special gauge or some type of homemade gauge. You can easily make a gauge with a board and a screw, but just something to gauge the height you're at, because there's no lever on here that you just adjust that is going to tell you, what height you're at. So you really don't have much of an idea until you put a gauge on it. If you're working with them all the time like I do, just go ahead and bite the bullet and invest in that gauge and thank me later. Another drastic difference between these two is going to be in the rear of the machine. All of these residential type reels are going to usually have some type of wheel or something like that that drives the machine, whereas all of the the professional Greensmowers, they're all going to have aluminum drums. So going back to, if you have steep terrain or a lot of hills, the aluminum can slip and slide around, whereas these are not going to do that nearly as often. Now, one thing that annoys me about these is when it comes to striping, you can often see the wheel marks, and although it may be faint, it's not going to lay stripes nearly as good as something like this with a smoother drum. The smoother drum in this heavier machine, it's also going to flatten out your lawn, every single time you use it, whereas this one kind of does the same. This one's just going to do it better. Now, coming back to the front, on all of the professional type units, they're always going to come with a front roller, whether it be a groove type roller or a smooth roller. The homeowner types are going to come usually with these stock caster wheels. Now, somebody can put a front roller on here, but usually it's an additional cost. Real Rollers makes tons of rollers. You can check those guys out. They make great products, but these can come with the wheels, so they're not always going to have rollers on them. It just depends if one has been put on or not. So just to touch on the overall weight of the machine, there's generally going to be a big difference between these. The homeowner model type always going to come in a lot lighter. I don't know the exact weight on the Cali, but this Greensmaster right here, I think it weighs around 236. Now, when you're slinging and these around the yard, this one's probably going to feel a lot different, a lot easier to maneuver. I'd say there's a learning curve really for both. Neither bother me, but if you don't want to be dealing with a heavier machine, then you probably want to go with something like that. Another big difference you'll often see is that the professional units like the John Deere or the Toro will come with some sort of groomer, or they can come with a groomer additionally. You're not going to find a Cali or a True Cut or a McLean or something like that with a groomer. Now, they do make some models that come like that, but typically these are not going to be equipped with anything like that. The groomer is good. It can cut runners or stolons above the ground. It can also help stand up the turf, help make it thicker, help root growth, that sort of thing. But you have to be careful on how often you run that, because you can easily stress out the turf. So it's kind of an art behind it, or a science, should I say. So that's probably a whole nother video. Now I'd run these both side by side just to kind of show you somewhat striping on dormant Bermuda, but this guy right here is actually sold, the Cali, so I'm going to carefully get it back in the garage so I don't do any damage for the new owner. And if you guys have any other questions, please let me know. If you got any value out of this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.